Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our 9-month Ultimate World Cruise adventure. Today, we're in Arica, Chile, where we get an amazing surprise.
Welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike,
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
and we're living that full life aboard Royal Caribbean's 9-month Ultimate World Cruise.
We sure are. And friends, today we're in Arica, Chile. Arica, Chile is the northernmost city in Chile. It's 5 miles from the Peruvian border.
Mhm.
It has a population of about 200,000, so it's a nice size.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's another industrial port. So once again, we have to take a bus to get to the terminal.
Mhm.
And when we got to the terminal, boy, were we surprised.
We got off we walked out of the terminal, looked across the street, and there was a massive festival going on. And none of us had any idea. I actually don't think Royal Caribbean
I
had an
don't
idea
think
this
they
was
knew
going
either.
on.
They would have said something.
Yes, absolutely. And so this was Festival of the Sun, which was one of the largest festivals in South America. It combines people from Bolivia, Peru, and Chile. They all come together to this relatively small town of
Yeah.
Arica.
And there's more than 16,000 performers, so musicians, dancers, and the like. It's quite the deal.
It is. So we got off or walked out of the terminal, walked across the street, and just started walking through the festival. And it was like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on steroids. I mean,
Going on for 3 days.
yes,
Yeah, it was a
3 days.
festival.
And in fact, that night they had started at 8 or 10 in the morning, and it was going to go till 4 a.m. And it was group of performers after group of performers. It was bands and dancers and all in traditional costumes. And
Beautiful
Mhm.
costumes, extravagant.
Yeah, it was just amazing, and we had no idea that's what we were going to find. This is one of those great joys of travel when you come up upon something completely unexpected.
Yes.
And it really was. It was really amazing. And well, we watched and just enjoyed that parade, and it's like we said, kind of like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. They have different viewing stands. Well, one of the places we were watching from were the steps of St. Mark's Cathedral, which was one of the big attractions we wanted to see.
Beautiful.
Again, being an engineer, this was very interesting. So around 1868, if I remember correctly, there was a church there. It had actually stood there for over 200 years. And at that time, this part of Chile was part of Peru, and there was an earthquake that destroyed that church. And the president of Peru asked and contracted with Gustav Eiffel. You probably recognize that name from Eiffel's Tower. Gustav Eiffel designed the Eiffel Tower in Paris, to design an earthquake-proof building, which he did. He came up with this design, and all made out of wrought iron. There is some controversy. Some people say that Gustav Eiffel actually created all the components in his workshops in Paris, and they shipped it all over and reassembled it. Most people now are saying no, it was designed by Gustav Eiffel, but then the construction, the manufacturing of all the wrought iron components was done in Peru at the time and then all assembled here. But the church is just amazing. I mean, you walk in and you're in a wrought iron building. It's really quite interesting and fascinating to see. So we toured the church, and then after that
We just decided to walk kind of the streets of the downtown area.
Mhm.
It's all very walkable.
Mhm.
And we thought probably a good idea to get some lunch now because with this many people in
Yeah.
town, the restaurants are going to fill up. So
Uh-huh.
we ate at a restaurant called the Cafe Del Mar,
Mhm.
and there was a group of 8 of us, and
Mhm.
it was delicious. It
Mhm.
was I had the
You had the
during
kebab.
kebabs,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
the
With the
kebabs.
lamb. Uh-huh.
And you had the cake or crepe,
Well, it was a
the
cape,
cheese
kind of like a quesadilla. Yeah, it was a
quesadilla.
quesadilla. It's a cape quesadilla. Yeah, quesadilla. So it was really, all the food was excellent. Everyone at our table enjoyed their meals very much. And for the amount of food, you can see it was kind of ridiculous how much they brought us. It was also very affordable.
Right.
So
And friends of ours had the
mhm.
empanadas. They said they were the best empanadas they'd ever tasted.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
All
wonderful.
excellent. So we enjoyed our lunch, and then after that, we decided we had to walk that lunch off. So we started hiking, and we came upon a
A
museum.
museum. And so this museum is rather interesting because it was originally going to be a hotel.
Hmm.
And the hotel started construction there and they started finding bodies
Uh-huh.
as they were building the hotel. And they found more and more and
No more
more bodies.
skeletons.
And yeah, and so they decided that, well, they cannot build the hotel. And the government then turned it into a museum. It's kind of neat because you're on sort of like a floating platform or a glass floor, and you
Mhm.
can look right down into the ground.
Where they've excavated and they've
Yes.
uncovered a lot of the different skeletons. And what they said is that's just the first layer of skeletons. So this was a burial ground for some of the indigenous people that lived there. And under that, they have discovered there's more. There's at least another 2 to 3 layers of different skeletons under there. So it was really fascinating to see and how they were placed and
It only
you know.
cost a couple
It was
dollars,
two
but it
dollars,
was,
I think, to get in this museum. So it's certainly worth a view.
and the name of the museum was the Musea de Sitco Colon.
Then we left the museum and started heading uphill. We went up the Morro de Arica Hill, which is the hill where the Peruvian forces actually made their last stand in the Pacific War against Chile. This was back in the 1800s. And they made their last stand there. And now a large Chilean flag, because of course the Chilean forces did overwhelm the Peruvian forces there and took the hill. There's this massive Chilean flag. But really, the best thing about going up this hill is the views that you get. Just gorgeous views of the town and the bay. You can see we can see our cruise ship from up here. And then there's also a smaller replica, another Christ the Redeemer statue that pays tribute to the one in Rio de Janeiro as well. And that was only built in 1987 when it was actually placed up here on the hill. So it was really worth the hike. It was quite steep, and the path is a little broken on the way up, so you want to be very careful. There are restrooms at the top.
But if you're up for an adventure, it's a
Yeah,
good hike, a good
yeah.
walk.
And one thing to note is if you're on a booked tour, like a Royal Caribbean tour, SEG tour, that takes you out to the glyphs or gives you a city tour, they actually will drive to the top of this hill, so you don't
Right.
have to climb to the top. So many of the tour buses were up at the top when we finished our ascent. But yeah, it's worth the climb. It's worth the view up there, certainly. And then we headed back down, and we decided to just walk the city and enjoy the festival some more. And as I was on my hot dog hunt, we were looking with was our last stop in Chile, so I was looking to find me a completo hot dog, and we found it.
We did find it.
Mhm,
And
yeah.
what'd you think of it, Mike?
You know, of the three world's best hot dogs on this list so far, this was probably my least favorite. But I think it was because of where we had it. We ended up finding it at the equivalent of it'd be like an equivalent of like a Dairy Queen. And so it was a very generic place. There was nothing wrong with the hot dog, but it just it didn't have a lot of character. The completo, the normal way that Chilean people eat, it's called Italian style. Completo de Italiano. And so it has avocado, a mayonnaise, and it has tomatoes on it. So it's red, white, and green like the Italian flag. And again, nothing wrong with it. There's tons of guacamole on it, or avocado, I should say. But it was the hot dog itself was just kind of average. But you had something really good on the way to get our hot dog.
I did have something kind of cool. There was a
Yeah.
little stand,
Mhm.
and the guy was making waffles on a stick, but they weren't just waffles.
Yeah.
They had you could choose your filling.
Mhm.
So they had shrimp and cheese and salami and different
Mhm.
different things on a skewer, and then they put it in the machine and
Mhm.
created the waffle on top.
Yeah.
Now, the waffle itself had absolutely no sweetness to it. I chose the cheese one. So what it really tasted, the closest thing I can describe it is a cheese pizza,
Yeah.
just a very plain waffle
Mhm, with
coating
cheese,
around
yeah.
cheese.
Yeah, and I tried it. It was very good. You sure you didn't want the seafood off off a cart in the street?
Out in a hot area, no, I
Yeah,
wasn't
no,
going
no, you didn't go for the
We
seafood.
went the safe route.
You went with the cheese. So, but it was good. That was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. And then we walked the streets some more, went back down to the festival again, watched some more. It was just so just enticing to keep
It,
going back and watching.
well,
And
their costumes
Mhm.
were just so beautiful.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
and we walked around a little bit more. We found a fabric shop, so that was kind
yeah.
of cool. We went
Mhm.
inside. A lot of the fabric, though, was really a tablecloth type material. But I have been on a quest for white embroidery floss for my counted cross stitch, and I found it.
Yeah.
Thanks to Google Translate. You showed
Yeah.
it to the man,
Right.
and he first brings out a little cup full of various colors of embroidery floss, and I'm like, no, I
Blanca.
need blue, yeah, Blanca, I need
Blanca.
white. Um, and he
You
went
went
to
to
the
the.
back and
Mhm.
he pulled it out. It was
Mhm.
perfect. It was like
Yeah.
60 cents,
Yeah.
and it was like
Mhm.
that was exactly what I needed.
Yeah, so that was always really good. And then we walked around a little more. The neat thing when we looked at the festival, again, we stopped and watched the festival more. They started pulling us into the street and they took pictures with us. They saw that, of course, we're tourists. I mean, I stick out like a sore thumb with in many of these countries. And so, no, they were like, oh, come take photos with us. And, just everyone had so much joy and they truly were enjoying that
Yeah,
festival. And
very,
yeah,
very cool.
yeah, so finally I think we were festivaled out and we were getting close to the boarding time for our ship, so we headed back, got cleaned up, had
Good.
dinner.
But let's talk just a minute, Mike.
Mhm.
Would you go back to Arica Chile?
Well, before we say that, let's ask you to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. We
Thank you.
always appreciate when we get a subscribe from you. If you're
We
enjoying
do.
our 9-month Ultimate World Cruise Adventure, it helps Google, well, they own it. It helps YouTube know that these videos, that people are enjoying them when you hit that subscribe button, and especially when you hit the like button. So thank you for
Absolutely.
that.
Thank you.
So Arica Chile, you're asking if we'd come back or not. You know, that's a difficult one. I think in general, Arica probably very much is a kind of been there, done that. It's a small town, 200,000 people, very much a local town. There are a couple things like there are some glyphs out on the hillsides we didn't go out and see. It's quite a drive out of the city to see that. But with so many options in this buffet of the world cruise, probably not for me. I think the festival really made it. In fact, if that festival hadn't been there, I probably almost would have been a little bored with
Right.
Arica.
We were actually
Yeah.
we discussed that. If the festival wasn't here, what would we think?
Right. So I think Arica probably is not a come back to town, unless, of course, and we always say this: if a cruise ship happened to be stopping there or something, we wouldn't avoid it.
Exactly.
Certainly, it's a wonderful small little town, great, very walkable, very safe. But it was probably not one I'd come back to. What about you, Nancy?
I actually feel the exact same way that, if a cruise ship stopped here again, absolutely I'd get off and walk around the town. But I wouldn't make this a specific destination to come back to.
Well, as we mentioned, we headed back to the ship, got cleaned up, and then we enjoyed a really, really funny evening with Derek Cameron, the comedian.
Right. This was his second performance, and he didn't let us down. He gave us some really good belly laughs.
Yeah, absolutely. This technically was an all-adult performance. It was later in the evening, but he even joked about the all-adult late evening show was 9:30 at night.
Oh, so late.
So late for us old world cruisers, but no, he was very funny. And then we went to bed, and the next day was a sea day. And as we're getting further and further back north, and we're chasing summer, we're out of the areas where we really need our heavy winter clothing that you may have seen in our video in Antarctica. If you haven't, we do cover what we brought down to keep ourselves warm as we're on those adventures. We decided to put all that clothing away.
Right, because back up north means up towards the equator, so it's getting warmer and warmer, and it was kind of good to do a reset here in the cabin as well, just to kind of, what are we using, what aren't we using, what can go under the bed, just to kind of give us a little more space.
So we piled everything on the bed, put it away in a suitcase, and so now we're kind of more set to our summer adventures as we head north through Mexico and eventually Hawaii and Tahiti and on to Australia. So yeah, we kind of cleaned the room up. I think feels a little more a little bit more space now.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, as we said, the next day was a sea day and just a pretty standard day on the ship. We are going to put together a day in the life video. We've had by the way, thank you for all the comments. We love it
it's really
when
nice
everyone gives us comments on our YouTube channel. We try to respond to each one of them. And one of the comments was, please just show us a day in your life. So we will do that.
That's coming up.
Yep. So we just had kind of a standard day in our life. And then that night we had a wonderful magician show. Yeah.
through Bill Cook, and he was a lot of fun to
Mhm.
watch, and he also used a Japanese mat
Mhm.
to tell a story, which
Uh-huh.
was rather fascinating.
I caught the biggest fish I have ever caught. Well, that's quite a claim. How big was the fish? It had to be that big. After their meal, they ventured to the fisherman's family shrine for a moment of prayer, silence, and reflection. And after prayer, returned home, ate, drank, and shared stories of the sea. Until the mighty sun set in the west.
Yeah.
So that was Royal is not disappointing when it
Mhm.
comes to the entertainment. They're bringing us on some top-notch entertainment.
Yep. So we enjoyed Bill Cook and went hit the bed because tomorrow we have a really, really big day. We're heading off into Peru. We're going to Pisco, and then from there catching a flight. We're going to head to Machu Picchu. Or are we? You'll
You
have to
stay
tune in.
tuned.
Yeah, we had quite an adventure, including government interventions, strikes, and all kinds of things that happened. So be sure to tune into that next one as we head into Peru.
Yeah. Have a great day, friends. We're so happy you're here. Take care.
Bye bye now.
Bye bye.